You spend roughly one-third of your entire life completely unconscious. If you live to be 80, that is nearly 26 spent entirely in the dark. To modern society, this feels like a design flaw. It looks like wasted time, lost productivity, and missed opportunities. We treat sleep like a luxury we can afford to cut corners on, a biological tax we pay just to stay alive. But what if you decided to stop paying it altogether? What if you chose to reclaim those 26 years and never slept again? If you enjoy learning how your body, mind, and the world really works, subscribe now because this channel breaks down complex things in simple ways. The answer to this experiment is not just a story of tiredness. It is a journey into the rapid, terrifying collapse of human consciousness. To understand what happens when you stop sleeping, you have to realize that sleep is not a passive state. We tend to think of it like turning off a computer. We imagine the brain shutting down to rest its components, but that is completely wrong. In reality, your brain is just as active when you are asleep as when you are awake. It is just performing a completely different set of tasks. Awake, your brain is focused on survival, processing inputs, and taking action. Asleep, it switches into a massive, highly coordinated maintenance mode. When you decide to stay awake indefinitely, you are not just keeping the computer on. You are forcing a machine to run at maximum capacity while actively blocking the mechanics from fixing it. The first 24 hours actually feel manageable. But here is where it gets interesting. You might expect to feel progressively more exhausted with every passing hour, but human biology does not work linearly. Around the 24-hour mark, your brain undergoes a strange phenomenon called a dopamine surge. Because your body realizes you are overriding a fundamental instinct, it assumes you must be in a survival crisis. It floods your system with stress, hormones, and dopamine to keep you alert. You might suddenly feel energetic, creative, and oddly euphoric. In 1963, a high school student named Randy Gardner decided to stay awake for 11 days for a science fair. By day 2, his euphoria vanished, replaced by an inability to focus. He tried to watch television, but found himself unable to follow the plot of a simple show. His eyes could no longer track moving objects, and this is where most people get it wrong. They assume the danger of sleep deprivation is physical exhaustion. By 3 hours, the true battleground shifts entirely inside your skull. Your brain begins to lose its ability to filter information. Every sound, light, and ambient temperature starts hitting your consciousness with equal intensity. Your amygdala, the emotional control center of the brain, becomes hyperreactive, while your prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic and reason, goes offline. You become an emotional pendulum, swinging from intense anger to uncontrollable laughter within minutes. Your body can no longer regulate its internal temperature effectively. You begin to shiver in a warm room, your metabolism goes haywire, and your blood pressure starts a steady, dangerous climb upward. But that is only half the story. As you push past 48 hours, your brain realizes it cannot win this battle through willpower alone. So, it begins to force you to sleep while you are still awake. These are called microsleeps. Your brain simply shuts down for anywhere from 1 to 15 seconds at a time. Your eyes might stay wide open, but your mind is completely gone. If you are walking, you keep walking. If you are driving, you keep driving. You have no conscious awareness that it happened until you snap back to reality. History shows us how catastrophic this can be. The devastating nuclear accident at Chernobyl was directly linked to sleep-deprived operators who had been working for over 24 hours, their brains likely slipping into these uncontrollable pockets of darkness. By day 3, reality itself begins to fracture. The human mind cannot survive 72 hours without sleep and maintain its grip on the world. This is when the hallucinations begin. At first, they are subtle. You see peripheral shadows shifting, or you hear your name being whispered in an empty room. Soon, they become vivid and terrifying. During a famous radio stunt in 1959, a disc jockey named Peter Tripp stayed awake for 200 hours. By the third day, he became convinced that the studio drawers were bursting into flames. He began to believe his friends were secret agents trying to poison him. Your brain is no longer capable of distinguishing between the internal world of dreams and the external world of reality. The dream state is bleeding directly into your waking life, but right around the middle of this descent into madness, something truly unexpected happens to the human body. If you look at people who have gone 4 or 5 days without sleep, they often seem to enter a state of eerie calmness. The frantic panic of the first few days gives way to a profound, hollow numbness. This is a survival mechanism of the highest order, but it masks a dark reality. Your immune system is actively shutting down. Your white blood cells stop fighting off basic bacteria. Your body loses the ability to process glucose, mimicking the conditions of advanced diabetes. You are quite literally decaying from the inside out, yet your brain is now too broken to even realize the danger it is in. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the deep science, and it comes down to a fundamental plumbing system inside your head. Every cell in your body produces waste when it consumes energy. Your muscles flush this waste into your lymphatic system. But your brain does not have a traditional lymphatic system. Instead, it relies on something called the glymphatic system. Think of your brain like a bustling metropolis. During the day, cars are driving, factories are running, and trash is building up on the streets. This trash is a toxic protein called beta amyloid. If it builds up, it suffocates your neurons. The problem is, the brain cannot clean the streets while traffic is heavy. It can only turn on the street sweepers when the city goes quiet. When you fall into deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink by about 60%. This creates space between the cells. If you never sleep again, the street sweepers never come. The trash accumulates hour by hour, day by day, slowly choking your brain cells to death in their own waste. By day 7, the consequences shift from psychological torture to literal physical failure. Your speech becomes entirely slurred, an effect called scanning speech, where you can no longer connect syllables into coherent words. Your short-term memory is completely erased. You cannot remember a sentence you started 5 seconds ago. Your motor skills degrade to the point where holding a glass of water becomes an impossible task. In animal studies, rats deprived of sleep for 2 to 3 weeks invariably died. Interestingly, they did not die of brain failure. They died because their immune systems became so utterly compromised that regular bacteria normally found harmlessly on their skin flooded their bloodstream, causing total organ failure. For humans, we know the definitive end of this experiment through a rare and terrifying genetic disease called fatal familial insomnia. It strikes people out of nowhere in midlife. A mutated protein in the brain begins to destroy the thalamus, the gatekeeper of sleep. Over the course of several months, the patient loses the ability to sleep entirely. No sleeping pills work, no sedatives can force the brain down. They progress through the exact stages of panic, hallucinations, and rapid weight loss until their autonomic nervous system simply collapses. The human body cannot sustain life without the restorative power of the deep sleep wave. This leaves us with a profound, unanswered question that scientists are still desperately trying to map. Why did evolution create a mechanism that requires us to be completely defenseless for a third of our lives? In the brutal world of early human history, lying unconscious on the ground for 8 hours a day made you an easy target for predators. It meant you were not gathering food, protecting your family, or reproducing. From a pure survival standpoint, sleep seems like an evolutionary disaster. Yet, every complex creature on Earth does it. If sleep does not serve an absolutely vital, irreplaceable function, it is the biggest mistake evolution ever made. Perhaps the true mystery is not what happens when we stop sleeping, but rather what secrets our brains are unlocking only when the lights go out.